Mayor Barbra. Well, it's good to be here. It's the first time I've been to Meherana, and I see what a beautiful place this is. I mean, I'm really so impressed by how it's all been put together out of so much love for Barbra and for the people that come to see it and hear about it, and the programs that they have, and it's just quite remarkable. It's the first time I've been here. Well, I've been hearing about Meherana, but now I'm going to begin to tell you about something. But before I do, I want to read something that Mayor Barbra wrote. It's a ghazal. And it's an incredible ghazal that he wrote to Hazrat Barbra Jean, his master, his great master, when he got God realization. At the time when he got God realization, right after that he wrote this. Once I can get my pen, here it is. Without this, I can't read anything. But now I can read it. Meherana composed the following ghazal dedicated to Barbra Jean. Oh, beloved Master, I am eternally grateful to you. If I had 100,000 lives, I would sacrifice every one of them at your feet. You drowned me in the eternal ocean of oneness and transformed me into an ocean like yourself. In the twinkling of an eye, you made a lover into God, and God I have become. O Emperor of Masters, O Ocean of Mercy, O Perfection personified, Sadguru, if your merciful glance falls on anyone, a beggar turns into a king. Gods, goddesses, angels, celestial beings, and men are all awed by the brilliance of your divinity. O enlightened Master of the three worlds, even if I were to transform my body into the sandals of your feet, it would be nothing in comparison with what you have done for Meherana. Isn't that amazing? Everybody needs their Barbra Jean. Meherana needed his to realize God, and not God somewhere else, where he himself now was having the infinite consciousness of being everywhere in everything, just like the ocean is everywhere in everything. But this is the ocean of consciousness, not the ocean of water. But just like a drop falls into the ocean of water, it's just a drop. It's just such a tiny, infinitesimal fraction of what an ocean is made of. It's same ocean is the drop. But the minute it touches the ocean, the grace of that touch turns it into the ocean. You can't distinguish the drop from the ocean anymore. Now it's the ocean also. And all drop souls that are touched by the ocean of consciousness, which is what Barbra is, becomes that same ocean. When Barbra declared that he is the highest of the high and he has come down to our level, he said that because he said that he wants to bring us up to his level. He's come down to our level for what? To bring us up to his level. Can any of you imagine being one with everything, as he was talking about? Being the master of all beings and creation of the three worlds, to be the master of the three worlds, you can't personally imagine that for yourself, that this is what you're going to experience. But this is your destiny. This is our destiny. It is the only destiny that every being has, to become what Baba is. He's here to bring us to his experience and take us out of the limited experience that we have into the unlimited experience as he has. Now, aside from Baba writing this incredible poem to his master, Barbra Jean, I have to read to you also a poem that I wrote about Barbra Jean. So we get to hear that one too, because I'm going to read it. It's called it's called Barbra Jean. Back with the glasses, okay. No one knows how old she was. Some say 125. She was a ruler of time, space, and infinite bliss. Don't let her old wrinkled body fool you. She was beautiful beyond even the angels in the heavens. They could not take their eyes off of her. Here you would not know it. Physical eyes cannot see beyond a certain range. She did not have a house or money in her pocket. She would sit under a tree. It mattered not to her if it rained or how hot or cold it would get. Local people thought she was a saint, but she was not, and never claimed to be. She was much greater. She could transform a boy into an avatar. Such power and authority she had that she could do the world this favor, to bring to consciousness the Messiah, the Rasul, the Lord of all, the expected one. In that frail container of her body beat the infinite love and power of the soul that could do such a thing. Through the clouds covering what I am, he came and entered the dreams of men and angels to reveal what is more beautiful than any dream ever could be. Then one day the news came. A rogue had died. He was a drunkard, gambler, relishing his every vice. But if anyone said anything against his beloved Barbra Jean, he would rise up. Who are you? You know nothing about her. You are like me, unworthy of the dust of her feet. Yet you laugh? No one could speak against her in his presence. He would bring his low-life friends to sit with her under the tree. But today she called the taxi. Drive, she said. So he drove, not knowing where. Suddenly the car stopped. It would not go. She got out of the car and sat on the stoop. It was the house of the dead man. It is said he had a very grim and ugly look on his face, like the depraved life he led. But now the Lord of Love, who he would defend to his death, came to defend him from his sins. They say his face began to relax into a quiet smile. In death he became radiant. She had liberated him beyond the heavens where even archangels cannot go. She was finished. Suddenly the taxi was working, and so she went back to her seat under the tree. Of the boy who became the avatar, she exclaimed, "This child is now capable of moving the whole world at a sign from his finger." Dearest Barbra Jean, were it not for this boy and the tales he told of you, who would know of you today? Who would visit your tomb at your tree or know the great deeds you did in your life? But most of all, who would know who you really are? Those persons who become perfect, who become God-realized masters, those persons often would say something about their God realization and about how, and about the master who gave it to them. You know, everyone hears these incredible tales. By the way, everything in there was true. You know, this really is a story of what happened with Barbra Jean, what was read there in that poem of mine. But I want to go to my own experience. I went to see Barbra in 1960, and it was in May. He was in Pune, in Guru Prasad. I had no money to go. I didn't know how I would get there. I thought I would work my way across on a boat. So I wrote to Barbra my first letter, and I said that I wanted to come to see him, and that I was looking to see if I could work my way across on a ship, and that I expected to be there in a week or two. That was me at that time. I was 23. I wasn't old enough to know better, but I was 23. Anyhow, I was burning with the desire to see the Avatar. I had read the books, certain books, God Speaks and Discourses and a few other things, and I knew, or I felt that he's saying he's the highest of the high. I never met the highest of the high before. I want to go meet the highest of the high. This was great, you know. I'm going to go and meet him. So that's why I wrote that letter. Now, some months went by because the ship didn't. Oh, I meant to say, but Barbra answered that letter right away. He didn't waste any time. I mean, I got an answer. It was so fast. I was amazed, you know, that the post could travel that fast. And Barbra said, you can come to see me for 1 hour only. And wherever you are, when you come into Bombay, he gave me the number, the name, and who to contact in Bombay. That would take me to wherever Barbra was at that time. So that was, and Barbra said that I could come for 1 hour only. So I had to think, I'm going to go halfway around the world for 1 hour, and we're halfway there, then 1 hour in between, and straight back, and see nothing else. So I had to think about this, but I didn't have to think for very long. Because when I had read this book of Don Stevens, Listen Humanity, in there he quoted Barbra as saying that even if the worst scoundrel were to stand before me and I had the wish, I could make him realize God in less time than the flash of a second. I thought, why am I questioning time? What can happen in a second? Who needs a whole day? So, or whatever, you know. I didn't need all of that. So I said, I don't know what's going to be, but I'm just going to go. Now, some months had gone by. I didn't have any money to go, and I didn't see how I'm going to go. And all of a sudden, a letter comes from Barbra's sister, Mani. And in this letter, she says that Barbra will soon be entering seclusion, and he will be going into seclusion for 6 months, and that during that time, he would not receive any correspondence or any visitors during the period of his seclusion, except emergency. You could send a telegram. So I'm thinking, what, 6 months more? I can't. All of a sudden, I really started to get desperate. I mean, very desperate, because I was burning up now with the energy to go and meet Barbra. And now this letter comes, and who knows when I would ever be able to see him. So in my desperation, and I was very desperate, I have to really make a point of that. In that desperation, an idea comes. What I should have done in the first place. And the idea was, and I sat down and I wrote another letter. And this time in this letter I said, "Dear Barbra, I want very much to have the benefit of your love, your direction, and your guidance. But I know that if it is your will, I will be able to come because I have no other means of going. I have no money to make the trip, and I don't see where money should stand in the way of such an ideal. I know if it is your will, I'll be able to come." That was my letter. Sent it off. Sent it off. Sent it off. Well, again comes a letter back right away. One sentence in Barbra's letter, just one. "Don't worry. Circumstances will adjust themselves. Love, Meherana." Wow, I get this. This sounds great. You know, something's going to happen. I wonder what. I'm going to skip over the part of what actually, how it all came about, because that's a story in itself. Instead, I'm going to say that 2 weeks later, I was there in India coming to see Mayor Barbra. Now, as the car is pulling up to Guru Prasad, I'm there, you know, and 2 weeks later. And I see Barbra standing on the veranda of Guru Prasad. And Meherji was driving me up to where Barbra was. And he says to me, he says, "Barbra is waving to you to come. So you go now." So I scramble out of the car and I go on over to, in the meantime, Barbra has gone inside the building. So I go inside the room where Barbra is, and there was maybe 15 or 20 persons in the room there. And Barbra's sitting in his chair, and he just puts his arms out like this here, and I come right up, and he gives me a big hug and embrace, and he kisses me on both cheeks, and he has me sit right near him, and he motions, he gestures, "How did you come?" So I said, "Barbra, I was able to come because it was your will." He says, "Stand up." He motioned. He wasn't speaking, he just motioned. I stood up and he motions to repeat this to the group because Erich was reading Barbra's gestures. And I said, "I'm here because it is Mayor Barbra's will." And I knew this was how true this was because for 6 months I was trying on my own, nothing worked out. All of a sudden, everything works out. So, okay, now Barbra is there and saying this to the group. And a man in the back raises his hand and Barbra points to him and the man says, "But how did you make the money? How did you get the money to come?" You know, he must have been around when my letters came to Barbra because Barbra would have these letters read out to him, whatever came. So I knew that he didn't understand. That was not important. It was the fact of Barbra's will. He made it possible. He could have done it in one of 1,000 ways. So just as I'm thinking this, you know, I didn't say that. But just as I'm thinking that, after that man questioned that, Barbra goes like this. That is not important. The way he said is the way he came. That it was his will, you see. Well, now time is going by, different things are coming up, and Baba asked about my journey and a few things, but then after a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours went by, and Baba went like this. What time is it? And Eric gives the time. Baba looks at me, he says, how can this be? How long were you to be here? So, listen, this was like 6 months before I got that other letter about the hour. So, and it just clicked in my mind, and I remembered it. So I said, Baba, you said that I could come for 1 hour. So he goes, how can this be? You're here 2 or 3 hours. How, more than an hour. How is this? And he starts asking each person in the room, how is that possible? I don't know, Baba. I don't know. I don't know each one. I don't know. Well, finally, Baba says, I want you to be here every morning at 7:30. Meherji will pick you up from your hotel. He'll bring you here until lunch, and then he'll bring you back to the hotel. You have your lunch, and he'll bring you back until I dismiss everyone. And now my 1 hour became an indefinite stay, which just suited me fine. I was in no rush to go anywhere. So then Baba was very happy. And what impressed me so much, sometimes people ask, well, what did you feel when you met him? I felt like a long-lost son that had one day come home. He was so loving and so warm. Just like family, here we all are, we're family of Baba lovers. But being with Baba, it was like being with someone that was most dear to you in your family, and that you could say anything to, would never, would only have your best interest at heart. And that was Baba. That was the way he was. Just to let you know, his human side was so really gracious. He had Meherji take me each day to a different one of his family, his different lovers of his in the area, and I was really treated like family. It was his warmth was so really wonderful as a human being, not to mention his divinity yet. The divine side was there, definitely. We all knew who he was. If anyone began to get too flippant with Baba, he would say, remember who I am, Then a person would settle down. They'd realize, who they're with. Baba liked Hafiz very much. He was his favorite poet. And Hafiz also had, when he realized God, experienced, he wrote a poem to his master. His master was Attar. Now, a little background on that is that he went to Attar because he wanted to get a certain meditation to realize God. And it turns out that Attar kept him with him for 40 years and really treated him rough. It didn't give him much love or happiness or whatever, He just sort of, tolerated him like that. That's the way Hafiz felt. But when anyone else came to visit Attar, he was all love and sweetness, and they just adorable. They just loved Attar. I mean, Hafiz. What am I saying? No. I mean, they really loved Attar. Attar was the master of Hafiz. Okay, now one day after 40 years, suddenly Attar calls him over and completely wipes out all of his bindings and turns him into a God-realized being. And when that happened, he wrote this. He wrote this poem about what occurred, and I'm going to read you that. Yeah.
Note here that this is not as far the great poet and the author of the modern Christian history. This is Mohammedan's God. Hafiz was 50 years.
You know, I'm not. The only attire I'm familiar with was the one that there was a God-realized person. No doubt what you're saying is so, you know, there may have been others by that name. Okay, here we go. I can find what I did with it. That's what happens. Oh, okay. Yeah, here. Now, this is what he wrote. Last night before dawn, I was given relief from all suffering. I was given the water of everlasting life. I drank from the divine goblet, and I was overpowered by the glory of divinity. What a supremely fortunate dawn it was, and what an auspicious night. The night when I was given the authority of godhood. If my longing is fulfilled and I am in bliss, what wonder? It is the grace of my master. What a wondrous miracle it is to be the slave of the master. I became his dust, the dust at his feet, and he raised me to the highest. Henceforth, I see myself reflected in the mirror of the beloved, and I see my real self. Rejoice, rejoice, and rejoice again, for Hafiz has realized the divine beloved. Now you know how you're going to feel when that happens to you. There's been so many really great tales that have been told. One of the things in my travels, I went all over the world to record the stories of people that were under Baba's guidance. Not necessarily those that just lived with him and were resident disciples, but those that were disciples that lived in other places. And one of these men lived in a town, in a city, in the name of Simla, that was in at the foothills of the Himalaya mountains. That's where Simla is. Simla itself is like 3,000 feet above sea level. They had railings that if you looked over the railing, you could look down thousands of feet in this city, because we went there to film Elsa, because Elsa was a very close disciple of Meher Baba, and he told us a quite incredible story, which I'm going to tell you what it was. When he was a businessman by trade, by profession, that's what he did. And he was there in Meherazad with Baba, and along with all the other men. And Baba turned to him and said, Elcha, are you honest? And he was asking, asking all his disciples, who's honest here? I want to know if you're honest. So they all raised their hands, those that were there, but Elcha didn't raise his hand. So now you know there's a story coming up. And so Baba looks at him and says, what happened? Why didn't you raise your hand? Aren't you honest, Elcha? And Elcha stands up and he says, Baba, I want you to know I am completely dishonest. There is no honesty in me. So Baba said, tell me, what is it that is dishonest? He said, because I'm in the business of a potato seed factory, and I am the manager. And when we sell the potato seeds, we always we mix we mix moderate seed with the best seed and sell it at the best price, as if it's all good seed, and some of it is not so good. And he said, that's not honest. And so Baba says, oh, so you do that? Why is that? He said, because all the other seed merchants do the same thing. And if we don't do that, people will never buy from us. If we sell what we say is pure seed, the best, and the others are mixing it and calling it the best, they'll sell at a lower price, and we'll be out of business. So Baba said, oh, I see. So this is what you're doing. Okay, sit down. So he sits for a while. Then Baba turns to him again later, and he says, Elsa, is there anything that you don't like about your work? What do you like about your work? Is there anything you don't like? He says, well, Baba, as a matter of fact, there is. Every month, they have a board meeting. And at the board meeting, they say that they want to cut my salary because I'm making too much. And I don't like that. So I tell them no, and then they just table it for the next month. And every month it comes up, and then they keep saying I'm making too much, and that they want to cut my salary. So this has been going on, and I don't like that. So Baba says, oh, I see. Will you obey me? Anything if I ask you to do anything? He says, oh, Baba, I'll obey whatever you say. He says, really? You will obey? You think you will obey me? Yes, Baba, I will obey you. He says, well, if I ask you to do something and you don't like it, what about that? Will you still obey me? Yes, Baba, I will obey whatever you say. I will do it. He says, okay, then here's what you do. The next time you go back to your business and they have this board meeting, you tell them that you want a raise. And you ready to do that? Because you have to understand, in India at that time, it was extremely difficult to get a good job, especially as a manager. It was very hard to get good work. And for a person to say that they're going to say something that would possibly cost them their job, it was unheard of. You know, they didn't want to do that. They were risking their livelihood. So Baba said, are you ready to do that? You ask them for a raise instead of when they say that? Yes, Baba, I'll do it. All right, then you can go. So he goes. Comes back a month later. And he's there with the others, and then Baba again turns to him and says, Baba, tell me, Elsa, what happened? Did you do what I asked? He said, yes, Baba, I did exactly what you said. They brought it up again. They wanted to cut my salary. I stood up and I said, I want a raise instead. I want more money. I'm not getting enough. So they were shocked to hear me say this here, and they all tabled the motion till the next meeting. So now that's where it stands. And Baba says, oh, so now they've tabled that motion. All right. Elsa, are you still willing to do whatever I say? Are you ready to really obey anything I say? And Elsa says, yes, Baba, I will obey whatever you say. He said, well, you know, things are not so easy. Are you sure about that? You can say no. No, Baba, I'll do whatever you say. Okay. The next time they have a board meeting and and they bring up your what they're paying you, you tell them You stand up and you say, I'm going to quit if you don't give me a raise. Now, are you ready to do that? He says, Baba, I'll do whatever you want. Anyhow, he goes. Now, again, a month comes by. Elsa, what has happened? Did you talk to them? He says, yes, Baba, as a matter of fact, I did. And when I said that that I would quit, they couldn't believe it. They said, oh, he's not going to do that. And they were, again, shocked. And they tabled the motion again. So then Baba said, okay. So they hadn't done that. Now this is what you do this time. You go and you tell them, when they have their board meeting, that that now you're going to quit unless right now they give you a raise. Right now. They have to give you a raise right now. Will you? Otherwise you quit. And he says, and if it should turn out that you do quit, then you can come and just be here with the others, with me. But that's what you do. Oh, brother. So he goes back. And he comes back to see Baba in another month. And Baba doesn't say anything. And he's just there with the mandali, just sitting there, just sitting around. And for weeks go by, a month goes by, and still he's just there. So Baba says, why are you here? Why do you just hang around here? Why are you here? You should be doing something. So he said, Baba, you said that if they didn't give me a raise, I should quit, and then I quit. So that's why, and you said I should come here, now I'm here. So this is what I've done. And Baba said, what? Did I say anything like that? And he turns to Eretz. Why is he telling me this here? He says, well, Baba, you did say that to him, what happened? So Baba says to Elsa, he says, so no one wants you? Nobody cares to have you? Or you're just here? And he says, well, Baba, actually there was a cable that came in which another company wanted me to take a job with them as the manager. But I refused. I didn't do that because you said that I should be here. He said, you didn't tell me this. Why are you telling me this now? You didn't tell me this. You go ahead and you send immediately a telegram telling them that you're taking the job. So he goes and he takes and then go. So he goes. As soon as he was to start work, the day that he was to start, another telegram comes from Baba, and Baba says that he should just come and be with him for 2 weeks. The day that he was to start work. So he tells his boss that he can't start now because he was supposed to start. He can't start now. He has to go away for 2 weeks. And the boss, he says, thinks about it. And he says, well, under one condition can you do this. He says, what? That you start work in 2 weeks when you come back. He says, okay. And then he goes to Baba. And Baba, when he comes to Baba, and Baba sees that he did everything precisely the way he wanted it. And then Baba says to him, Elsa, I am so happy with you. You obeyed me implicitly. You didn't, for a second, not do what I asked. And you did everything, very difficult instructions that I gave you. Now, I want you to take that job in 2 weeks. You can go back. But I am so pleased with you. And this is the way obedience, it was a real expression of what real faith and obedience is, because, who could tell you a thing like that and you would do that? You would have to really believe in his a divine authority. So that was Elsa. I want that if anyone has any questions and they want to ask me anything, that they should feel free to do so. Oh, okay. You were exercising your arm. Okay.
How did you get to India?
You want me to tell the story of how I got to India? Well, it's a magical story. All right, I'll tell that story. When I received that cable from Barbra, it wasn't a cable, it was a letter saying, "Don't worry, circumstances will adjust themselves." I thought, oh, this is great. I wonder what's going to happen, how's it going to adjust themselves? Well, all of a sudden, my dad, who was very against me going to see Barbra, he was not at all in favor of any such thing like that. Thought it was a waste of time and money and everything to fly there. So he tells me, he says, "I'm going away on vacation. I'll be going for a while, and I'd like you to take care of the business in the meantime," because he was in the real estate business. And I would be working with him. So he says, "Just take care of the business and do some advertising. You sell some of the properties that we have. And I'm going to go." So he goes. Now I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I have no money. I got to be able to make some money to be able to fly to India to see Barbra. So I get this brainstorm. I decide I'm going to put a full-page ad in the Miami Herald on Saturday, and then a three-quarter-page ad, which is double the price, on Sunday, and try to sell all this property that he had in one swoop. Now, my father never expected anything like that. He thought he'd put a little ad in, just a few people come and that'll be it. But in the real estate business that we had with land sales, if you don't sell it on Saturday and Sunday, forget about Monday. Nobody's going to come. They come on the weekend, on the days you advertise, and that's that. And it's always been like that. So I have this incredible ad, this full-page ad going in on Saturday. And my dad happens to come back a couple of days before that this sales campaign is going to occur. And he says, "Well, son, what did you do while I was gone?" So I show him the proof of the ads that the newspaper gives you. And he says, "This is going to cost a fortune." I said, "Yeah, but you'll sell everything out. It'll be just fine. It'll pay for itself." He says, "No, I'm not doing this." And he goes ahead and calls the Miami Herald to tell them to stop the advertising. So they say, "You can't stop it. It's already past the deadline. It's going to go in. No stopping Saturday and Sunday." And then I said, "Oh, Dad, by the way, there's another ad going in on Sunday as well, which is double the price." Oh, brother. He was, "Got to stop these ads. It's too expensive." There's thousands of dollars of advertising in just 2 days. So, anyhow, he can't stop it. Now, once he realized that he couldn't stop it, he took it like a man. He said, "All right." And so we had the salesman, and we had all the office movie projectors and things, showing the properties and all of this. Everything was all set up with the sales staff, and there was even a policeman at the door to open the door for the people, let them in, and this and that. And so, I'm hoping that this will be successful, because then I feel I would earn the money to go to India. So, okay, 8 o'clock, on Saturday morning, it starts. Everybody is all prepared. 8 o'clock. And then it's 9 o'clock. So far, nobody has come. And then it's 10 o'clock, and so far nobody has come. And then it's 11 o'clock, and so far nobody has come. And so far then it's 12 o'clock, and so far nobody has come. And now 1 o'clock, one lady comes in, and she says, I don't have the whole $25 down payment for the piece of property, but would you take $5? Why not? Why not? And for that whole day of Saturday, which was unbelievable that there wouldn't be people coming, whether they buy or not. But the thing is, a whole day goes by, one sale for $5. All right, that was Saturday. Now comes Sunday. It's 8 o'clock. Everybody is ready again. Surely it's going to be a mob of people coming. Okay, to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, nobody. 10 o'clock, nobody. 11 o'clock, nobody. This is a miracle, Not the kind of miracle that you want, but it's the kind that you don't want. Now, the clock is on the wall there, and it's looking at 12 o'clock. And when it was 12 o'clock, I realized, I'm not going anywhere at this rate. So I just threw my thought out to Barbra. I said, Barbra, you've got to do something right now. I need a miracle now, and there's no time to wait for it. You've got to do it right now. And the clock rings 12 o'clock, and all of a sudden we start hearing this sound. It's like a rumbling sound, and it's getting louder and louder. And then finally the other people in the office, the salesmen and everybody, they're all noticing this sound, this getting louder and louder, and nobody knows what is this sound, And it gets louder and louder, and soon everybody is looking to see what's going on. And it gets so loud that all of a sudden, the doors, we had these double doors that opened into the office. The doors fly open, literally, and this mass of people come storming into the office. I'm telling you, you ever see this Mad magazine? Where they have all this, like one is on top of the other practically, and they're all going in. There was this mass of people. They filled up the office within seconds. And everybody was wanting to know if they could buy this, if they could get 10 acres of that, if they could put $500 down instead of 25. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. It was just amazing. And the phones started to ring, and people were calling up, well, we can't come in, but can you send somebody out here? We want to get 20 acres. I want to get 20 for me and 20 for the son. Oh, brother. This went on steady for about 6 hours. I think that it stopped at 6 o'clock. So it went from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And it was just bedlam. Everything was being sold. I mean, it was unbelievable. Now, 6 o'clock comes, and everything just stops. Like, who knew to stop everything? How can things just stop? They just stopped. And that day, we took in not only as much of what that advertising cost, but a lot more on top of that in down payments and everything. And I felt, well, now I earned my keep, you see, to be able to do this. So I said to my dad, at the end of the day, I said, well, Dad, looks like we had a good day. He says, well, I've had some pretty good ads too, This was the miracle. You see, when I projected my thoughts to Barbra, and everything happened at that point, after he said, don't worry, circumstances will adjust themselves. I mean, Barbra was showing me that he was doing this. Because first he wouldn't let nobody in. And then finally, when I became desperate again and I asked Baba to please do something because I need a miracle now, he gave me a miracle right then and there, right on the spot, bingo, just like that. And so that's how I was able to earn the money to go. See, like that. The part I didn't tell you is always a part, is that when I said to my dad, I said, well, Dad, we had a good sales campaign here, and I want to be able to go to see Mayor Bob in India now. And he said, oh no. I said, well, I did earn the money. He says, it was never a question of money. I said, it wasn't? What? No, he said, that was never it. The whole idea is ridiculous. You're going to go from here to India to meet a man who says he's God, and you're actually going to do this. And then you're going to give all this money to the airlines, and what do you think is going to happen? You're going to go there, he's going to see you, and he's going to send you back. And it's a whole waste of everything. Why are you doing this? I said, look, Dad, you don't seem to understand the difference between what a master is and what just an ordinary trip is. I'm not trying to explain this to you. Just want to go there. I know what the reason is and what I'm doing. He refused. I had to literally escape to go there. All of a sudden I just said, well, there's no way he's going to do this. So I just went to the bank, took out whatever money I felt I needed for the trip, because he had also made me the president of that parcel of land. You see, so I had a legitimate, my name was legitimately on the account. He did that before this all happened. So, all right, because he was trying to make me interested. I'm his son. He wanted me to be in his business, and so he thought that giving me a title would make me feel like I'm more part of things. So he never expected this. Well, all right, now I'm telling him I want to go. And he absolutely refused. Absolutely wouldn't do anything. So I knew I had to, if I wanted to do this, I just had to do it and not be asking so many questions. So that's what happened. So then, there's more to that tale, but I mean, there was more to it because he called the cops on me. See, Baba will always give you a nice, interesting story about your life. If you stick with him, your life will not be dull. I can tell you that much. And so he calls the cops, and when I was in New York, I had already flown to New York with my brother Edward, and we were about to go, and he, so we come to the airport, and there's two plainclothes policemen waiting for us. And they said, are you Irwin Luck and you Edward? They're at the counter where you check in. Yes, that's who we are. Then would you come with us? I said, well, we're about to catch a flight. I don't think we would really want to go with you now. Do we have to do that? They said, yeah, you'll have to do this. So next thing we know, we're off to the police station instead of to India. So we're at the police station, and the sergeant comes in, and this sergeant, boy, he was a number. He starts swearing at us and cursing us, and he says, we got you. You thought you were getting away. You're not going anywhere. And he went on and on, for about 15 minutes, just swearing at us. And finally he says, you're going to go to jail. You may as well confess now. Confess everything now. The judge may or may not be more lenient with you, but it'll be better for you if you confess. So I said to him, we had no chance to even talk. So I said to him, what did we do? What did we do? Why are we here? He says, oh, You playing innocent, huh? Okay, I'll tell you what the charges are. For embezzlement of company funds and for aiding and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. So that's why you're being arrested. So I said, this is my brother? He's the minor? He and I want to go to the same place at the same time. There's no rule that says that we can't do that. And as far as embezzlement of company funds, it's my company. How can I embezzle any money from my own company? And I decided I want to make a trip. So there's no problem with that. He says, what are you talking about? And then he goes out of the room and he comes back in. And once again, he's being very angry. And I remember when they went out, they go out of the room. I said to Edward, I said, I don't know what Bob is doing, but this is probably something Baba wants to have happen. And I can imagine them behind the one-way mirror that they were looking at us and listening to us with this Baba. Who is this Baba? Is he the mastermind? I can imagine them. Now that I think of, afterwards when I thought about it. So he comes back in, and and this time he comes back in, and who does he come in with? My father has a lawyer that comes in with the cop, and the lawyer says, "Now you take everything out of your pockets, put everything on the table, and I'm going to take the money, and I'm going to take everything. It all belongs to your father." And I said no, and he says, "You have to do that." And I said, "No, I don't." I said, "But I'll tell you, I'll do it under one condition." He said, "What?" I said, "You take all the money out of your pocket and put it on the table, and then I'll put what I have." He says, "Oh, a wise guy." Because this whole thing was ridiculous to me. So I said, "Oh, okay." So no, he's not going to do that. Then the cop says, "Who is it that who is it that's saying all of this and putting the?" So, I asked him, "Who's putting the charges against me?" So I said, "Is it my father?" And he looks. This is the sergeant. He looks, says, "Your father? What do you mean, your father?" I said, "Is it my father? I don't know who else would say such a thing." He says, "Wait." And he goes, "Wait, like I'm going somewhere. Wait." And he goes back out of the room again. And this time, he comes back in. And who comes in? Not only this lawyer, but my father walks in also. He flew in the meantime, you see. My dad is real sharp, So he comes in, and he starts to say, "I taught them to walk, and I taught them to talk, and I sent them to school, and I know, look at how they turn out." And the sergeant is listening to him, and he's realizing, this is a family affair. This has nothing to do with anything of the law, So after my father was done with that, then the sergeant tells Edward and I, he says, "Look, you're both free to go. I didn't know that this is a family situation." He says, "But would you do me one favor?" So I said, "What would you like?" So he says, "Don't get your father so upset next time." All right. Well, to make the story come to some end here, am I running out of time now? Yeah, okay. All right. I'll just, okay, so anyhow, my father, in the end, he says, "Okay, you can go. I'm not letting Edward go because you've been working with me. He doesn't do anything like that." Yeah, had no respect for him. And Edward says, "Look, Irwin, you go, prepare a place for me. I'll go back with him, and I'll follow you up later on." So I said, look, Baba said, and Baba had said that we should come together, you see. So I said, he said that, we should do that. He says, well, it's not going to work out. You just go and So that was the thing that Baba asked me. When I came to be in front of Baba, he said, where is Edward? And I said, briefly, I told him what happened. And Baba said you would have benefited more had you both come together as I had said. But now Edward will benefit just as you, even though he was unable to come. And what happened is Baba kept me with him. Now my time is running out, but Baba kept me with him for 2 weeks, not 1 hour, as he had originally said, 2 weeks. And when I returned, and during the 2 weeks, he had me send a telegram to Edward saying that he would benefit just the same as I, even though he couldn't come. And then when I got back, Edward told me this incredible thing that happened to him. You see, he liked to go to the beach and sit on the beach wall, Miami Beach. And what happened was that these children would start to come up to him, and they would hold him like this. He didn't know these children. They were just kids, And they would come up and they would embrace him. And if he was walking on the street, people would turn around and they would look at him. And there was so much attention. And all of a sudden, wherever he went, whatever he did, there was all this loving attention. So when I got back, and he told me, he said he didn't know how come. He was getting all this here happening to him. And then the telegram came. And he said, when he saw that Baba said that he would be with him as much as he was with me in India, then he understood that Baba was really there. And it was Baba in him that they were turning around to look. Because this is what would happen when Baba walked down the street. When Baba would walk, people would turn around. There was a whole different dynamic that went on with Baba whenever he was traveling about, and how people would react to him that didn't know him. So now this was happening with my brother Edward during the time of that 2 weeks and then when I came back, then that ended. You see that stopped. So this was a tale. I want to do one last thing before I close the evening for tonight. I want to read you this here. I didn't think I could talk for so long, but all these memories come back, Talk for a long time. Okay. Let's see what I got here. I had put something here so that everybody could hear this. Now, I'm going to close with this. This is a poem. You see, in those days, I used to write Baba poems also. Later, I wrote poems in general, like what you heard before. But this is a poem I wrote to him. And it's called If I Were You and You Were Me. That's the name of it. This is when I first came to know about Baba. Huh? I sent it to Baba. This was, see, in the beginning, for 10 years, I was writing poems to Baba. I didn't write to anyone else. It wasn't until 2010 that I started writing other poetry. And I only did that for 1 year, put my pen down after that and said, that's enough poems. Now, this one here, and let me tell you, when you hear this, I meant the words that are in here. This was not just written lightly to Baba, like, I'm sending you a poem. No, sir. This was how I actually felt. I wonder how it would feel to be if I could become you and you could become me. Would I help you to become like me if I were you and you were me? Since you can see how you are me and I can't experience how this can be, would you then lift my ignorance from me and help me to see true reality? Since it is you who are ignorant and it is really not me, you said yourself, you are me. And since it is true that I am you, even though to see this is hard for me to do, would I be content as you to know that I am here and suffering so? I could never ever see why I torture me, much less can I see why I keep my grace from me. And since you are me, you're wondering too why I do this since I am you. And if I were you and you were me, would you ask me for the grace to see reality? Would I, in a moment, out of love for you, let you see reality and illusion too? Or would I make you work and suffer much more before I would open for you this door? Oh, how I wonder how I would be if I were you and you were me. Since it is you who is you and me who is me, and since I truly desire to see reality, would it then be too much to beg of you to help me love you as you would like me to? Just a moment of your grace could lift the suffering from my face. Will your answer then be just a letter to me? Or will your answer be my lovely reality? And that was what I wrote to Barbra. And Bob... I'll just end it with the fact that Barbra did reply to that. And let's see what he said. And just to let you know that, and then that will be all for this evening. It says here, this was sent by Adi of Barbra's reply. My dear Irwin, your beautiful poem was received. Beloved Barbra heard it. He wishes me to ask you whether you approve of this poem being released in the Awakener magazine, solely devoted to Barbra. Barbra sends his very endearing love to you, yours brotherly Adi K. Irani. And that was that little episode that occurred. Jay and Judy.
We'll start the concert in 5 minutes. 5 minutes? You be ready in 5 minutes? Okay. Well, Irwin's going to be giving us 2 more talks tomorrow. So that was a good taste, I think.